Welcome to the show, Golf Sickos. It's the Monday after the Masters. We have just so much to get to. It's going to be a loaded show. I'm joined by my co-host. I'm giving you co-host name. Yeah, it's big one there. Ben Boscovich, editor-in-chief of Scratch. I want to start off by saying, it's very, very rare that you get what you ask for in sports. It is the best reality television that exists because you have no idea what's going to happen, and it very rarely plays the way that you want it to. It did this week. So last week we did a Q&A with Alan Shipnuck. He's going to be on the show discussing everything Masters in a little bit here. And one of the questions was, what is your dream scenario for the Masters? And this is what I said. I'm going to say Rory versus Bryson part 2 would be absolutely massive for the rivalry. And I think if Rory could get him, it would be, just a movie to complete the career Grand Slam. We actually got it. That actually happened, which is wild. Now, I do want to hit the honesty button. I have my honesty button again. It wasn't as good as the 20. Wow, I didn't realize there was a gong that was good. I'm going to do that again because I like that gong. I'm going to hit the honesty button one more time. It wasn't as good as the 2019 Masters. I saw a lot of people saying it was the best Masters they had ever seen. I think we have recency bias. Tiger Woods winning the Masters after everything was still number one for me. But still, an incredible day. Definitely more of a roller coaster. Like, Tiger closed his like a boss, whereas Rory kind of tried to give it away like 4 or 5 times. So for today's show, I've got takes on takes on takes, and I've been doing this thing for every major since 2019 called 18 Parting Thoughts. I actually got the idea from John Wertheim, who was my old mentor at Sports Illustrated. He would do 50 parting thoughts on every tennis major. I think it's kind of weird. I've always thought it's kind of weird to write articles after every round, like in the middle of a tournament. Basketball writers don't write articles after the first quarter and the second quarter and the third quarter. Like, you need to see how something plays out before giving your thoughts. So I like to kind of wrap everything up, see how everything plays out. And I love this speech. It's this piece. It's a summation of my observations. We're going to go through all 18 of them on this show in a second. But I have that ready for when the final putt drops. Like, I really start to do it on Sunday. But a few things happened after the final putt drops that I didn't talk about that I wanted to get to. Jim Nantz. Ben, I know you were a big fan of his call.
Oh, yeah. I just thought it was like, McIlroy gets his masterpiece with such classic Nantz brevity. But like that, I have chills saying it again right now. Like, it hits, although it's not that complicated, and that's what he's best at.
Well, I think one of the good things with golf is that it moves slowly, and so it gives the announcer time to start cooking, to really know what he's going to say. Like, with Tiger was the return to glory. Like, in other sports, someone makes a shot or misses a shot to win the tournament or to win, the NCAA March Madness or to win the finals. Like, you got to react in the moment. Nantz has time to cook.
I wonder if that goes like 2 more playoff holes, if like it changes that moment a little bit. Like, he says something about like sweating and grinding.
But I'm saying even after like the putt, there's a little bit of time in golf. Justin Rose and Rory, I think it was nice that it was Rose that was on there. There was some tension between Rory and Bryson. At least Bryson felt tension. We're going to get to that as well.
Yeah.
Nice that Justin Rose was there, who's played with Rory in Ryder Cups. Those guys go way back. It felt like he was genuinely happy to see Rory win.
I was thinking Augusta National probably loves that finish too, more so than like let's cut through a little bit of animosity to like shake hands. Like, let's be excited for each other, like truly as their teammates coming up. Like,
teammates.
Come on.
Rory's celebration, everything that you could ever want. Tennis players usually have better celebrations than golfers because there's a physical exertion that ends when you win a tennis tournament. You're playing 7 matches, I think it is, in 14 days, and you're dead physically. Yeah, you could see, like, here's Djokovic. They all collapse to their knees when they win a tournament. You don't see that very often. Federer collapsing. You don't see that very often in golf. Like, even when Tiger won, he kind of just went like this. With Rory, it was a physical reaction. You could almost see the monkey being lifted off of his shoulders. He collapsed to the ground because Augusta is a physical golf course, and having to play 19 holes on Sunday, we all know about the hills. But it was like a physical manifestation of that burden leaving his body after more than a decade.
This is my favorite thing about the end of the tournament, other than like a 7-minute span where you just don't have any Trevor or any Jim and you're just watching Rory get it done. But the fact that, we've all hit those like fake putts on our carpets and on putting greens to win the Masters. And I don't know about you, but I think more about like what happens after the putt drops in that fantasy.
You're a thespian.
Are you going to embarrass yourself? Is it going to be like an incredible like Phil moment where he jumps into the air, or the Tiger fist pump? Like, Rory gave the most Rory genuine stages of all of grief and excitement through that celebration, where he let it out. He let himself get excited. He was smelling the roses. He was jacked up.
The
azaleas. Sorry. Well, he probably smelled the rose near him.
Oh,
Team Rose is probably
smelled Justin. Are you saying Justin Rose has BO? Is that?
I just came up with this in real time. I love you, Justin.
Yeah.
But yeah, he went through all the stages, not only of Rory, but of like what a winner goes through. It was representative of the round, his reaction. Like, you gotta love when that works out for good TV. Among all the rest of the good TV that happened, like, he doesn't have to look back and be like embarrassed about how that went.
And I know we're not big on the internet on positive coverage takes. I thought CBS coverage was great. I really did. I thought the John Legend thing was maybe a little on the nose. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I like they mix it up. It's something different.
It was something different.
Ray Charles again.
They went through a lot to make it feel big, which I thought was awesome. And then, people were complaining, they weren't showing golf shots. It's the first couple holes. Like, we're all golf sickos. We want to see golf shots. And also, we'll talk about the coverage in a second here, but like, you can watch every single golf shot. Just go to masters.com. Every single one.
Nobody can ever complain about not being able to see something during this week.
It's
They've
insane.
set it up for us.
So I thought they did a really good job. Speaking of the broadcast, Dottie and Rory, the handshake off 18.
All class.
He was hugging everyone, and I was thinking, Dottie didn't go in for the hug.
That was awesome.
Dottie didn't go in for the hug. She went in for the handshake. Well done, Rory. Because she's a journalist. She's a media member, and I just thought it was game recognized game.
That's like the painting moment for me. Like when Hideki's caddy bowed at the end. Like, I want that painted, like that handshake, that business move at the end.
It was business.
And you got to respect
business, but it was
Dottie.
mutual respect.
Yeah,
really good stuff. And then all his boys being there to congratulate him afterwards. Shane Lowry was there. I mean, even before he got to like his his friends who aren't professional golfers.
Yeah.
But Shane Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood, the vibes on the European side of the Ryder Cup this year are impeccable. I tweeted this. PGA Tour winners this year so far. So there's been 5 tournaments that have been won by Americans. They've been won by Harris English, Brian Campbell, Joe Highsmith, Russell Henley, and Brian Harmon. So
it's not a starting 5.
Scotty hasn't won. Xander hasn't won. Cantlay hasn't won. JT hasn't won. Spieth hasn't won. On the European side, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They got 7. Sepp Straka, Rory McIlroy, Thomas Dietrich, Ludvig, Rory again, Victor, and Rory again.
All their stars are winning.
Yeah, so they're off to a tremendous start. But I thought it was, Shane Lowry shot 81 yesterday.
Whoa.
Yeah, did you not realize that?
No, I didn't.
So, yeah, bad day to be a Guinness. I saw someone say that online. He shot 81 and Rory won the tournament. So I imagine...
24 hours beforehand, he was saying, I know you guys want me to stand here and talk about Rory for 10 minutes. I'm not going to do it. 24 hours later, he's happy to do it. I love that, juxtaposition.
Well, and we're going to talk about that also, but it was not a fair question during the tournament.
Yeah.
He was still kind of in the mix. I mean, he was one shot behind Justin Rose. So if he shot 60, Justin Rose shot 66 he was 6 behind, I think, maybe 7 behind. I don't remember. He shot 66 on Sunday. If Shane Lowry would have shot 66 on Sunday, he would have finished, second or been there. So it was not a fair question, but it was fair after the fact. All right, so we're gonna dive into everything Masters, but quick. First, a shout out to Wheels Up. This Masters week in Augusta, we were coming to you live from the Wheels Up clubhouse. This thing was right next to the golf course. It was a super premium event. Members only hospitality experience hosted by the premium private aviation company Wheels Up. Their vibe was luxury meets connection and creativity, celebrating golf culture and its evolution. It just had a ton of luxury touches. Custom cocktails, curated gourmet food, stylish indoor, outdoor lounges. There was a fleet of Bentleys and Lamborghinis for member transfers. If you were there, you were experiencing the Masters in style. They had a mixologist, Tyler Zielinski, who was running the minibar, making cocktails inspired by the Masters. He had pimento cheese martinis. I am lactose intolerant, so I did not try one of those. And a high-end green jacket riff. There were daily fireside chats hosted by George Mattson, the CEO of Wheels Up, talking with leaders from Delta, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock. I think you were on one of those panels.
Yeah, I actually talked to George Mattson. Great guy.
Talked to George Mattson. They covered business, travel, and the future of private aviation. This whole experience showed that Wheels Up isn't just a flight provider, but they curate full experiences. The Wheels Down program offers inside access to the Masters, the Super Bowl, Art Basel, and other iconic events. If you missed this year, put it on your radar for next year. Wheels Up made it next level. Clubhouse access is for members and charter flyers, and chartering is easier than you think. Learn more at wheelsup.com. And then quickly, before we jump into all things Masters, and I promise you guys, once we start, we will not stop. Just a quick recap of everything that happened in golf outside the ropes at Augusta National. This is the Knockaround, presented by Knockaround. I saw an essay, a video essay. These are the Brooklines, by the way. There was a video essay this week that was like, if this course could talk, talking about Augusta. If these sunglasses could talk, they would say Danny has really sweaty hands. He throws his sunglasses in very strange spots, but also he gets to visit very cool places. These have been with me at Torrey Pines. They've been with me at Pebble Beach, and now they've been with me in Augusta, Georgia. We got a promo code. I love this product. These sunglasses are $35, and with this promo code, if you go to knockaround.com and use the promo code DanOnGolf20, you get 20% off your first order. Brings these under $20. They're just incredible quality for the right price. I am a huge fan of Knockaround. Got to meet their team a couple weeks back. Just fantastic people. This is the Knockaround, presented by Knockaround. So this kind of snuck under the radar because the Masters dominated everything. We're going to get a mixed gender event at the Olympics in 2028. And you know where that tournament is?
Where?
Riviera Country Club.
Let's go.
Right down the road. How good is that? Top players, both men and women, they've said they'd be up for this. And now it's going to happen. I'm thinking about Scotty Scheffler teaming up with Nelly Korda. I'm thinking about Min Woo and Minjee Lee, the all-Lee team for Australia. As far as format, it's not clear yet what it's going to be. Got to think it'll be a 2-day event, probably some combination of best ball and alternate shot. It's going to be awesome that the men and the women get to share that massive stage. Tiger Woods was pretty absent from the Masters this week. And by pretty absent, I mean physically totally absent. Didn't even make it to the Champions Dinner. Obviously, still recovering from that Achilles surgery. But the club, Augusta National, did announce they'd be partnering with him on building a TGR learning lab in Augusta, and that he'd be designing a short course at the Augusta Municipal Golf Course, which they call the Patch. It's nice that Tiger is staying involved in golf beyond his contributions playing, because we just don't know if there's going to be, any more contributions playing. So awesome that Tiger is still so involved with the PGA Tour governance, with TGL, and with building a new learning lab. The work that he does with the TGR Foundation truly is incredible. I thought this was awesome. Bryson apparently went for a walk around his neighborhood last night, or maybe, I don't know if it was Saturday night, Friday night. Found a group of people putting and then just joined them for an hour. He truly is the most interactive golf superstar that I've seen in my lifetime. I wasn't around during Arnold Palmer, but that's sort of the comparison. We saw this with the way he was signing autographs like 5 minutes before his tee time. I definitely think there were some mind games involved. We're going to talk about that also. And then Justin Rose, my goodness, man. We're going to cover this in detail, but what a turnaround. Last week on this show, we showed him hitting a shot that you just don't like to see in competition. Oh, yeah. Let's show that video. Just a shank and a half.
No.
Before the Masters.
That is a world-class shank right there. That's like put that one in the Louvre.
And then, he sort of played the Stuart Cink role yesterday where everyone was rooting for Rory. But I felt for him, 44 years old. You just don't know how many more of these you're going to get, how many more chances. And I caddied for him last fall for On the Bag, which is on Scratch YouTube channel. And I asked him an interesting question. Let's roll that as well.
If I could offer you 7 more PGA Tour wins or 1 major championship, what would you take?
1 major championship.
So Jason Day said 7 more wins.
Yeah.
Because for him, he said, he's about, I guess he's quite a bit younger than you, though. He's 7 years younger. He said...
Has he won 13?
13.
So that'd take him to 20.
That's also another thing that he said?
So if you give me 9 or a major...
The lifetime membership?
That's kind of like, it becomes maybe a different conversation.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You only offered me 7. You're tight. You're cheap.
I'm cheap. Yeah, he's great. We're going to talk a lot about Justin Rose today. Let's dive in. Let's start with the Masters. We're going to be joined. We're going to break this into 2 parts because there's so much of this. We're going to do our first 9 parting thoughts, and we're going to be joined by my journalism dad, Alan Shipnuck. Alan, talk to me, my friend.
Well, I'm delighted to be here as always, son. And yeah, what an epic Masters. I mean, everyone's still buzzing, including me and you and the rest of the world. So let's chop it up.
Let's chop it up. All right, we're going to start with my number 1. Rory McIlroy is the best player of the post-Tiger generation. When I say post-Tiger generation, I mean he's the best player who's younger than Tiger Woods. I tweeted this yesterday and people were saying, Phil's 54 years old. Rory is 35. So they are not of the same generation. Tiger is 49 and Rory is 35. So they're not of the same generation.
Generation of people who were inspired by Tiger to pick up the game.
Anyone younger than Tiger Woods. Yeah. He's the best player right now younger than Tiger Woods. So before this, Brooks had him 5-4 in major championships, but now it's even, 5-all. And Brooks has won 3 PGAs and 2 US Opens. Rory's won them all. And he's won way more around the world, not even really close. I want to read a stat that kind of stopped me in my tracks this morning. So Rory has 5 majors, 29 PGA Tour wins, 3 FedEx Cup titles, and 4 European Tour Players of the Year. Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth combined have 5 majors, 28 Tour wins, 2 FedEx Cups, and 0 European Tour Players of the Year. So he has had the same career, a slightly more accomplished career, than both of those guys together. And my question to you, Alan, is how many majors has he finished with now that he's got this monkey off his back? Because I feel like it's going to be a completely different experience for him now when he's in contention at a major. And he's going to be. He's been in contention countless times, even since he won his last one.
It's a tantalizing question. I mean, he's playing the best golf of his life. We know that. And actually at Pebble Beach this year after he won, I asked him about this, and he said, I'm finally a complete player. And I thought the finally was quite interesting, and followed up on that. And he just said, yeah, I can hit it high, I can hit it low, I can play in the wind. Rory used to have only a fastball, and he's added more pitches over the years, and now he's got them all: the changeup, the split finger, the slider. You saw that for 3.5 rounds. Basically, his wedge play and short iron play at Augusta was absolutely impeccable, and that was what always has held him back there, and other really exacting, precise setups like you get at the majors. And obviously there was a huge mistake on 13, but he still came back and hit those shots on that shot in the playoff at 18. Like, if Rory from 150 yards in is going to be that good, combined with his driving, then he can win anytime, anywhere. And he died about 3 different deaths out there on Sunday, and yet he still prevailed. Like, nothing will ever hurt him on a golf course again. There is no situation that will ever replicate the pressure he felt. I mean, it's going to be easy from now on. And like, I remember Marco Mira, after he won the Masters, and then he was in contention later that summer at the British Open. He said, I couldn't believe how calm I was. It just felt so easy. And I think that's going to be Rory's experience. If he's in the hunt at Quail Hollow, Oakmont, even Portrush, where there's going to be a lot of buildup because it's in his native soil. But I think it's easy to imagine he doubles his total, gets to 10, which puts him in very, very rarefied air.
I just got goosebumps when you said 10. I was going to say my over under is 8.5. I think he's definitely going to pass Phil. But you're right. I think even with Xander last year, right? He wins at Valhalla, then gets into contention at Troon and just slams the door shut. And he said the same thing. Like, I've closed one of these out before. The burden of expectation is basically gone. He's got nothing left to prove. And it's interesting, because we judge these guys almost solely on majors. When Rory was saying that stuff before he won another major, it was like, yeah, okay, win a major, right? When he's like, oh, okay, I'm a complete player. Now you believe him. Right. And now it's scary. So, yeah, I mean, the reaction that I still can't believe that he did it, man. He tried to throw up. He threw up on himself like 4 separate times yesterday. He double bogeyed the first hole. He's cruising to victory. He plays 13 as a 3-shotter, hits probably the worst wedge shot you could ever, besides laying the sod over it and hitting it 10 feet in front of you. I mean, he must have missed his target by 20 yards. Then also he hits that amazing shot on 15, misses the putt, right? On 18, he hits one dead down the center. That's the hard part on that hole. And he did it twice. Yeah. He had 2 300-yard cuts right down the center. He's got a gap wedge in his hand, blocks it into the bunker. That putt never really had a chance. Like, he tried to give it away so many times. So you're right. I can't see anything scaring him anymore on the golf course.
I mean, the amazing thing, when he's on the 72nd hole, when he's over that 4.5 footer, I don't think anyone believed it was going to go in, and of course it didn't. And like, I would have just gone up to the crow's nest and locked the door and never come out. Like, that's the most mortifying thing that could happen to you in your golfing career. I mean, that's like, you're at recess and the bully just pantsed you and stole your lunch. Like, it's just that was a golfing snuff film, and somehow he just snaps out of it, comes back, plays the hole perfectly, wins the Masters. Like, the incredible resilience just on a dime. It almost defies belief at the end of a long, exhausting day when, I mean, that final round it was a soap opera. It was a telenovela. It was an opera. It was just like, it was insanity. It was one of the craziest athletic performances across any sport any of us have ever seen or will see. And the fact that he somehow got it done, it's wild.
The graphic they showed for career Grand Slam made me, I gasped. I said, "Oh my God!" I mean, it's fair. Like, I'd never seen a graphic like that before. Like, they might as well have put up there, like, for everything he's ever wanted in his life. You know what I'm saying? I think you had a question.
I have a question for both of you guys. And I don't mean to go to negative town right away. Yeah. It's an amazing moment.
Take us, baby.
But given the way he handled Augusta yesterday, or lack thereof, do you feel like the Masters is the least likely major that he'll win again. Like, I feel like it makes it easier going into Quail Hollow. Of course, he loves. It makes it all the pressure feel easier, but like he still got beat up by that course yesterday.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, he shot 73. Everyone else took it low, but no, I don't think so. I think his game is like pretty built for it, and I can't see that happening again because there's just golf is such a mental game. It's such an emotional game, and Rory feeds off his emotions so much. And the emotions were on when he left 12, where I'm actually about to do this. I just think it's going to be such a different story when I've already done this before. All right, we're going to move on to number 2. Justin Rose. This is now the last 2 majors that he's been runner-up in and in the mix. What an interesting guy. He's old school. You could tell he cares about being a gentleman. You know, he's a bit of a thespian with his reactions. He's taking off the hat. He's doing the sort of very demonstrative highs, always like leaning in for the high fives. You can tell how he thinks before he speaks. You know, maybe no one's been closer, on Alan probably, maybe Norman, I would say, to winning a green jacket without winning it than Justin Rose. He now has 3 runner-ups, including he's lost in a playoff twice now. He's led after the first round 5 times, which is more than anyone, including Jack Nicklaus. He's been tantalizingly close. But I like that afterward, you know, he's 44 years old, but he wasn't in the mood of like, it might have been my last one. He wasn't heartbroken. He said, you know, when I lost to Sergio in 2017, I got to number 1 in the world the next year. It didn't seem like he felt like it was his last good shot. Alan, he sort of came up more during your era when you were, you know, out covering the tour on a day-to-day basis. I've only really known, you know, Rose since he's been over 40 years old. What have been your impressions of him in your career?
Well, I was by the green when he was 17 years old and holed out that wedge shot and at the Open, and I think that's still the loudest noise I've ever heard on a golf course. And then, you know, he turns pro, misses I think 22 cuts in a row. People forget it was the hole he dug himself out of to become, you know, brick by brick this sort of foundational piece of the European Ryder Cup team. He's punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame eventually. A major champion, a gold medalist. You know, he's won the race to Dubai. He's reached number 1 in the world. Like, it's phenomenal given the way his career started, and it speaks to his toughness and his grit. And I agree, he's a very classy champion, and he's a very gracious loser. I will say it's hard to nitpick a guy who made 10 birdies on Masters Sunday, but you know, the whole tournament flipped. And when Rose makes that putt on 16, and he's now in the lead, and you feel like, oh my God, Justin Rose might win the Masters, and he promptly messes up 17 and bogeys, and that more or less opens the door for Rory. It was like he played so carefree and so aggressive, and then all of a sudden he's got the lead. He's got one arm in the green jacket, and he messes up 17, which is a tough hole. But I was like, oh man, Justin, like, how many chances are you going to get to do this? And he just felt like he backed off a little bit in that moment. Of course, the putt on 18 was great, but he gave Rory that opening, and so it was a hell of a performance. We needed that because, you know, Bryson obviously blew up. You know, Ludvig also, he had a putt on 16 for the lead. He missed it. He made a mess coming in. Like, it was not going to be. It wasn't going to be the day that we needed if everyone just handed it to Rory. Like, Rory had to go get it in the end, and Rose was the guy who ultimately made that happen. So kudos to him. But I'm always going to be thinking about that 71st hole for a very long time.
Well, the 17th hole, we talked about this last week. It's like a root canal for me. It's like 16's iconic, 18's iconic, and you just got to get through 17. Like, you're not going to enjoy it, but you got it. Rory did. Rory made an incredible birdie. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone beg a ball to go like more earnestly than he did on 17. He's like, go, please go, because if it pitches short, it comes down the hill, and it's like a really tough up and down.
He made a noise. He was like, ah.
Yeah, he was like, please go. Patrick Reed finished solo third. His best finish in a major since 2018. Alan, Alan, didn't you write the piece that sort of like almost ruined his life a little bit?
I don't know about that, but
did you not write the piece about his family after he won the Masters in 2018? You watched it with his family, didn't you?
Correct. Yes, and I asked Patrick in the press conference, Champions press conference. It's a funny story. I sat in the front row, and I was waving my hand the whole time, and the green jacket up there was determined not to call on me, but I just kept waving my hand, and because Patrick Reed won 2 national championships at Augusta State. His parents live 5 miles from the golf course, and yet on Masters Sunday, when their son was winning the most coveted title in sports, they weren't allowed on the grounds because of this, you know, this incredible estrangement. And it's so germane to his journey. And the reason we care about these golfers is because of their lives away from golf. I mean, what made the hug with Tiger and his dad and Tiger and Charlie so iconic? It's the journey. You know, Ben Crenshaw bent over on the final green because, you know, he had buried Harvey Pinnock, his lifelong teacher, a few days earlier. Like, people are like, oh, it's their private life, but that's why we care about these guys. And so I felt like someone had to ask Patrick. And so eventually the guy just capitulated, calls on me. And I just said, you know, Patrick, this is the greatest moment of your golfing life. Is it bittersweet not to be able to share it with your family? And he kind of mouthed a non-answer. And that was an abrupt end to the press conference. And I don't think I've been called upon since at Augusta press conference, but I'm sure that's just a coincidence. But yeah, so that story kind of blew up. But I mean, it was already, I didn't break the news. Like this had been years in the public eye, you know, this weirdness with Patrick and Justine and the family. But that kind of took it to a different level, that Masters win. Yeah.
Well, back to the golf. He's another Augusta specialist. And with him, it's all about short game. You know, every year I feel like we analyze the results of how guys are playing coming into the Masters in their results on their respective tours now, PGA Tour, European Tour, Live Tour, because there's a 9-month gap between majors, and we think, okay, we've got a big sample size, like we're going to extrapolate how they've played on these courses and bring it to Augusta. But Augusta is just its own beast, and it's all about short game. Patrick Reed, I think, now has 4 top 10s to go along with his victory, and I thought this was interesting. So Jose Ballester, the amateur who pissed in Race Creek, we're going to get to that. They asked him sort of what he learned about the week. He missed the cut by a bunch. He said, these guys are here especially because of how good they are around the greens, how much knowledge they have, how good they are at perceiving the slopes and reading greens. I hit many good shots with drivers and irons both days, but what I felt that those guys are in a completely different level from where I am around the greens. And Patrick Reed, I think, still one of my favorite short games to watch. He's incredible around the greens. All right, next one. Rory and Bryson. So I absolutely felt like Bryson was playing mind games. I don't know if you felt the same way, but he was late to the tee. He let Rory get there first, and he was signing. So Rory was sort of talked about wanting to be in his own bubble all week. Bryson is interacting with fans constantly, was signing autographs like 5 minutes before. I think trying to get the crowd on his side, show that he's the people's champ. Alan, is this the rivalry that we've kind of been waiting for?
Well, yeah, and I think you might have tweeted this, Dan. I mean, Rory's never had a true rival. You thought it was going to be Spieth, and Spieth kind of fell off. Him and Brooks have never had a memorable showdown, or Rory and Dustin. It hasn't materialized, and this could have been it. But Bryson just shrank from the moment. I mean, I thought he played terribly on Sunday. Nothing was working for him, and so it was an opportunity lost for Bryson. Like if he had beaten Rory here, that he would have gone to a totally different level, conquering this course that's bedeviled him. You know, there's a lot of guys in his contemporaries who have 2 majors. If he got to 3, that would have really separated him. And you can't win them all, but for Bryson to play that bad was disappointing. But I still think, yes, there's a lot of juice there. They've each beaten each other when it really matters, and I think we're all looking forward to the next showdown, because it just feels like Bryson wants it. I'm not sure Rory really wants it. You know, he doesn't have the same affinity, but if Bryson's in his way, he's going to go through him. So it has potential to be really spicy and really fun.
I don't think Rory really wants it, or I don't think Rory feels the same way. I asked him on Friday after his 66, I was like, Bryson said he's working on all this stuff. He's hitting all these balls in the range. What about you? Are you working on anything? And you could tell he did not like the Bryson. You could tell I was kind of trying to tie the two of them together, and he just said, I'm working on what I'm working on. It surprised me that they're only 4 years apart, because they feel completely generationally divided, like as different as people could be. I mean, Rory's a family guy, Bryson's surrounded by his entourage, a bunch of dudes who, live with him and shoot all his content. Rory's drinking red wine and watching Bridgerton. Bryson, looking at he said he was going to Rory said he was going to avoid his phone. And then Bryson said, I don't have that problem. I'm going to be on my phone. They're just so different. Rory plays the game with freedom. He's a natural talent. Bryson milks everything out of what he's been given, all about science. And there did seem to be some tension. We have a clip of Bryson talking about their experience on Sunday at Augusta.
Did you speak to him in there? How's he doing? Do you know? No idea. Didn't talk to me once all day.
What was the atmosphere like at everything?
Electric, I loved it, but he was just like, just being focused, I guess. So it's not me, though.
Just on did you try and initiate conversation with Rory at all?
He wouldn't talk to me.
We celebrate Tiger for those kind of things. What did you make of it, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I love that from Rory. Like, you talked about the mind games. If Bryson wants to play his, then Rory will reciprocate. And I thought that was really weak of Bryson to bring that up. And, this is the greatest moment of Rory's golfing life. And Bryson made it all about him and his little tender feelings. Like, who cares if he talked to you? Like, this was the Masters Sunday. And Rory had already said the night before he was going to be in his little cocoon, his little bubble. What was Bryson expecting? Like, small talk?
Yeah. Also, like, what are they going to talk about? Like, what is Rory going to say? So, like, how's the YouTube channel going? Rory said he doesn't watch YouTube golf. What is Bryson going to say? How are the kids? Like, you don't have kids. They got nothing in common besides they're both really good at swinging sticks.
I mean, there's the classic moment when in VJ seeing in 2003 when he was threatening Tiger's supremacy and they had this final round showdown, and on the first tee, Tiger says, "Good luck," and VJ says, "Titleist 3." They didn't talk the rest of the day. Like, that's how it be. I mean, that's alpha energy.
Yeah.
And I love that from Rory. And for Bryson to cry about it afterwards, like, it just, Bryson wants to be loved the way Rory is loved. But it's effortless with Rory because he's so genuine, he's so sincere, he's open, he's engaging. There's a kind of a humanity, a sweetness there. And Bryson's always trying so hard. And that's just another little moment where Bryson would have been a lot better just to keep his mouth shut. And I know there was a lot of eye rolling about that. And it's like, man, you got beat, you played bad. I know you're frustrated. Horrible. Don't try and make this about you being some affront to your dignity because Rory didn't have any small talk for you.
Yeah, I agree. Let's say something nice about Bryson. Short game's unbelievable. His short game was unbelievable. So the classic, this is our fourth one. The classic notion at Augusta is the guy who hits his irons the best is going to have a chance to win the tournament. And that was true. Rory led the field in strokes gained approach. I believe through 3 rounds. I don't know, that wedge shot on 13 probably screwed him a little bit in that stat. But Rory hit his irons amazing. Bryson lost ground to the field. He was below average with his iron play. To finish tied for 5th and losing ground is an amazing accomplishment. I mean, he hit the ball so fucking bad with his irons this week. Everything was long left. That's an ugly miss. And you knew that it was going to come back to bite him because you can't miss left on the back 9 at Augusta National. And he missed left on 11 into the water, and it was basically over. He kept on that second shot on 13 all week. He was hitting it like long into the bunker left. He just was not able to hit that sort of off-speed, hold-off cut. I did appreciate it's always really nice when they go to 13 because there's no 13T, there's no fans around, so you get these nice hot mic moments. And you could hear Bryson, he just kind of, after he hit his tee shot down the middle, he just took a second and he said to his caddy, he's like, "I'm just playing bad." And that's exactly what it was.
Also, but at one point, he was like, I'm trying to hold it off. I can't hold it off.
Yeah, he's like,
that hook.
He's like, this is what I said on the range. I just can't hold it off.
Yeah.
But he's got this incredible short game, and he does it with this wedge. That's the length of a 7-iron. And every time he's in the bunker, it looks like he's trying to cook eggs with a hockey stick. It's like it just looks way too long. And he led the field in strokes gained around the green. He beat Patrick Reed. He beat Jason Day. He beat Scotty Scheffler in that statistic. Alan, he's matured a lot as a golfer.
Yes. You know who else plays a single length irons?
Alan Shipnuck.
Yeah, exactly. I love him.
How's your bunker game?
Not as good as Bryson's, but you can, Dan, you can always choke up on the wedge a little. You don't have to hold it at the butt end of the club.
I'm just saying it looks so bizarre. And also the grip is like my microphone. It just, the whole thing looks, you see Jason Day and it's got this beautiful aesthetic and Scotty's, moving it around. And Bryson's got this massive stick and he finds a way to get it high and soft. I don't really get it.
Yeah, well, leverage. But Bryson has matured as a golfer. There's no doubt. And you have to give him credit because he was struggling with his swing more or less all week. And he still kept himself in it. After that second hole, when, that putt would have gone into a thimble and it felt like, oh, here we go. It just seemed like Bryson was primed. But, he'd flown a little too high on borrowed wings. He just couldn't, the ball striking wasn't there. And even, the putting wasn't really there on Sunday. He was really struggling with his speed. Those greens get faster and faster by Sunday at 5 p.m. I mean, they're basically made of ice. And so I think it was Bryson kind of cracked the code a little bit on how to play the course, how to manage his misses, except for a couple notable examples that you mentioned, how to just get it around. And if, even though he didn't play well on Sunday, I think this actually gives him more belief, because if he can contend with his B- game, it definitely sets him up for the future. But definitely a disappointing performance on Sunday. But I agree that overall he's progressing as a player and he's getting more dangerous.
Well, I think about his first major win at Winged Foot, which was probably the worst course setup I've seen for a major championship ever. I mean, the fairways were as wide as this desk, and so it was just a function of who could hit it the furthest, and then he would just, because Winged Foot doesn't have a lot of stuff surrounding the greens, it's just muscle a wedge out and run it up, and it was sort of an inartful performance, a true bomb and gouge. That was not the case at Pinehurst. Pinehurst is an exacting test that demands excellence throughout the bag, and we all remember he won it with that incredible up and down on 18. But it was the same thing. His putting was amazing that week, and his short game was amazing that week. So he's definitely more prepared for more tests. Someone who didn't have their B or C game or even their D game was Nick Dunlap. He had his F game. He deserves some serious credit for turning up, because he shot 90 on Thursday, which is bogey golf, and we've seen that before in major championships, but it's usually from an old guy who's playing his last one. Ben Crenshaw shot 91 in 2015. He was 63 and playing in his last Masters. Nick Dunlap is a kid, and I do think it's important that we remind people he's a kid. This would have been his junior year at Alabama. He was not planning on playing on the PGA Tour, but he won last year and it changed. But then he won again. So he won 2 times on the PGA Tour last year, and he played bogey golf at the Masters. It was downright yippy with the driver. I don't know if people saw some of those swings. It was like the club way behind him, almost like I think someone said that it looked like when your finger slips off the joystick in PGA Tour 2K. Like it was that bad. But then he came back. He came back and he shot 71 on Friday. And right before he teed off, I was talking to Dr. Brent McCabe, who's been on this show, who is a sports psychologist. He works with Nick Dunlap. And he looked at me and he said, how many guys would have just quit yesterday? Alan, how many guys would have quit yesterday if they shot 90?
More than a few. I mean, it's a parable for us all. Like, the kid showed so much heart, and he made a lot of fans, and he earned a lot of respect in the locker room, the press room, the caddy yard. Like, it was a great performance in its own way, and it was gritty. And Augusta National, everyone knows, you're like walking a knife's edge, and it's the easiest probably course in the world to shoot 90 on for a good player. You hope that the damage is not lasting. Driver yips have ended careers. I mean, Askey and Baker Finch, even, that was the untold story of Anthony Kim. He got the driver yips. Plenty of guys have been driven from the game. David Duval had issues. So hopefully Nick Dunlap can cure that, because he's obviously a very gold-plated prospect, and he showed a lot, but I did watch some of those swings you're referencing, and it looked like he was getting electrocuted on the downswing.
It was like Mito Pereira on 18 at Southern Hills like 10 times in a row.
Yes. So, and let's be honest. I mean, off the tee, Augusta is fairly generous. So
it's a field. That's a little bit strong, but you can hit it basically anywhere. There's a lot of windows.
Yeah, you don't want to have that swing at a tighter test with water and stuff like that. So it's going to be fascinating to see where Dunlop goes from here. I think, he's a great player, but he's very quiet. He's a very contained personality. I don't think he's resonated too much with golf fans despite his success. And but people are going to be paying attention now. And in a weird way, he went to a different level of visibility. And I'm not going to say he became a star, but he became a person of note. And it'll be fun to watch how he recovers or doesn't.
Yeah, and he said he's never withdrawn from a tournament, and he would never do it. And it brought to mind someone else who was at Augusta National this week. Roger Federer played over 1,500 matches in his tennis career and never failed to finish a match that he started. He never retired, which is what they use in tennis. That's the term they use. Never retired from one. Whereas Novak Djokovic, I believe, has the retirement slam, where he is retired from every single major in tennis. That was something that always stuck with me. Something I always loved about Federer. Like, he was never going to say, "Oh, my back hurts."
Yeah, and Michael Jordan took great pride in playing 82 games a season. That was something that meant a lot to him. Like, the great ones want to compete. They want to play through pain. They want to, physical or emotional. There's something to that. And you kind of saw that with Rory yesterday. I mean, that grit it's not just developed on Masters Sunday. I mean, it happens on Friday afternoon when you're trying to make the cut. It's when you're at a no-cut elevated event and maybe you don't feel like playing and you still go out there and grind out a good performance. I mean, there's something to that. Always staying in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, he almost shot. He bogeyed his last 3. He was 4 under through bogey-free 4 under through 15 holes. All right, next one. So Augusta is a huge part of Masters lore. The fact that it's the same golf course every year, and the club itself. Players just develop a relationship with the course that they don't with other courses. So, you know, I know Alan knows this. I know this. Trying to get golfers to play golf for fun a lot of times can be like pulling teeth. Like, you know, they play so much golf. They're so regimented. But that's not the case with Augusta. You'll always hear stories that come out about, oh, this guy took his dad, or he took his friends, or, you know, Scotty Scheffler took his mom and they played together on Sunday, which is a privilege that the defending champion gets. And, you know, they have their favorite holes. They have their favorite spots on the property. They have their members that they're friends with, you know, their favorite club staff. They come to play for fun and they bring guests. That just never happens anywhere else. And I think we all share a relationship with Augusta National that includes the players, and you just don't see that in any other tournament. It feels like it's, you know, your favorite players, like they have their home course, and they have Augusta, which they kind of treat as their home course. So I don't know, that just kind of stuck with me. Alan, am I being sappy? Am I getting old?
A little, but it's also true. I mean, one of the things I like to do on Monday, Tuesday of Masters Week is late in the day go out to the par 3 course. And many times I've seen players out there with their son or with their buddy, you know, maybe they're working on their wedge game a little bit, but they're also just soaking in the atmosphere. There is just something about, you know, Augusta National is a playground for these guys, and it has such resonance emotionally. And it's just a little cocoon. You know, they built a gym there that gets used basically 1 week a year now. They've turned this whole campus into this private sanctuary for the players, and they lap it up. I mean, these guys just love to be on the grounds. They love to use the facilities. You know, Rory talking about on Tuesday night at Masters Week going to dinner at the invitation of a few members, because it's the ultimate kind of boys club. And it's, you know, for these guys, for the players, when they're on site almost anywhere else, there's people are coming at them. They want something. Augusta National, they're sort of among equals, right? It's these other.
Well, I used a line that you stole for your book, where I said that, you know, it's the only place where they're the poorest ones in the room, and so they treat the members with a different level of respect than they do on a normal week.
And you can't underestimate how the mental relief of people not having phones and wanting selfies and wanting, like, these guys can really just unwind and relax that week and roam freely across the grounds. No autographs, there's no photos, and it's a special week for them, and they really live it up.
Yeah, it brings out the kid in them. You know, you just when they're at every other tournament, they're very much a professional athlete. When they're at Augusta National, they're you know, I saw Min Woo Lee posted, like, what an honor and a privilege it is to be on the grounds. Like, he's not going to say that at Quail Hollow. Oh, no disrespect to Quail Hollow, but it's just not the same thing. All right, serious signs of life for Max Homa. So Alan and I have been tough on him. We clowned him on the show for all the change that he's made. Basically everything a professional golfer can change, he has changed. Caddy, clothes, equipment, swing coached. He was asked why he did it this week. He said, everything's been just because I want to get better. The swing changes have been the biggest issue, I would say, or just like the thing that's taken the longest. But I would have still done what I did. I just wish I could catch on a little bit quicker. But yeah, I just, you know, don't want to flounder. And so that's why I made all these changes. It's not just to make changes. I know some people, like they say, golfers like to blame things and then get rid of that, and it's not their fault. It wasn't that. It's just I'm trying to look to get better and reach my potential. He said that he's been hitting it better than ever in practice sessions, but hasn't been able to bring it to the golf course. Finally showed some serious signs this week. A T12 finish, 69.71 on the weekend. That was guaranteed a return, which, you know, given his current form, might actually mean something. You know, usually for a guy who's accomplished what Max Homa does, you're not thinking that way because you're like, I'm going to be in the top 50. I'm going to make the Tour Championship. It's not going to matter. It might matter. Alan, what do we make of Max this week?
Yeah, it's great. And I think you were talking about in the previous segment, I mean, they need him on the U.S. Ryder Cup team. That's not that far away. And Europe is playing great. A lot of the American stalwarts are kind of struggling. So if Homa can find some form and play well on these big time courses and these big events, that's a big deal for Captain Keegan. But you got to respect the chase. I mean, I remember interviewing Padraig Harrington after he'd won 3 majors in 2 years, and he went through all this litany of things he was working on his swing. I said, this is madness. Why don't you just keep doing what you're doing to win all these things? He said, how do you think I got here in the first place? You don't climb the mountain by not trying to get better, and you can't just stop. And you know, I mean, we saw that with Tiger. I mean, he's had 5 different swings in his career. Like, these guys, they don't, that quest for excellence, it just doesn't end because they've had a good season. And so, you know, I respect Max has been open about it. He's been honest about the struggle, but we all know he's a good dude and he has potential to be a great player. So it's good to see him back. And if you can do it at Augusta National, you can do it anywhere.
All right, my 9th one is our last one we're going to do with Alan. We've already taken a ton of your time. Bernhard Langer. You know, I feel like the pendulum has swung too far on this guy. I don't know if I just spend too much time online, probably both. But anytime you do something about Bernhard, they say, oh, he's anchoring his putter, or they say, oh, he played the senior tees in front of Charlie at the PNC. But the guy's a legend. 47 wins on the Champions Tour. I mean, who has time to do that? It's wild, and he almost made the cut. He missed it by 1, and I think we need to understand just how much of an uphill battle he's fighting. He averaged I think it was 255 yards off the tee for the 2 rounds he played. He was 40 yards behind the field average, 70 yards behind Bryson. It's an uphill battle, especially on a course as physically as demanding as Augusta. It's a shame that putt on 18 didn't go in, but another icon has played his last competitive round on the sport's most iconic stage. A guy who followed him on Friday said, walked all 18 holes with Bernhard Langer. Dave Hegan is the guy who said this. It was quite possibly the best round of golf I've ever watched. The man hit a rescue into 9 of the 10 par 4s. He did not hit any of the par 5s in 2. He had 1 birdie and 3 bogeys for a 74. It was quite delightful. So he's had a proper renaissance on the Champions Tour. Longevity is a huge part of his legacy. But some guys today, they say they don't even want to play on that tour. So Rory's now made $104 million, not including FedEx Cup bonuses. Scotty's already at $76 million. And Rory recently said he was asked about playing on the Champions Tour, and here's what he said.
Sorry, say that, was that?
If Champions Tour is still kind of what
Absolutely not. I will not play Champions Tour golf. I've said a lot of absolutes in my time that I've walked back, but I do not envision playing Champions Tour golf. Something has went terribly wrong if I have to compete at golf at 50.
This brings me to our CFP question of the week. Alan, do you think the game has changed for the next generation? Like, are they asking themselves, do I play for the money or do I want to play for the competition? Basically, I'm asking you, do you think that Rory's being honest, or do you think he'll change his mind in the future?
Well, he said something has gone wrong if he has to play. He's not going to have to play. It's more as he's going to want to play, because Ernie Els didn't think he was going to really enjoy the Champions Tour. He's on the time of his life. Like, what is Rory going to do if he walks away from golf at age 45? How's he going to fill his days? I mean, I think these guys just love the game. They have a love affair with hitting a golf ball and that competition. And there's nothing in everyday life that can replicate the feel of, you know, having a chance to win a tournament late on Sunday. Even if it's just a senior tour event, it's the guys you grew up playing against. There's pride. Yeah, he's not going to need to do it. He's going to have more money than God, but I think he's going to miss it. And you get to that period in your mid 40s when maybe your performance falls off and you just haven't been there in the heat of battle for a long time. And all of a sudden you have a chance to win every time you tee it up. Like, I think, you know, Rory also thought the Ryder Cup was a meaningless exhibition. Like, as he noted, he's changed his mind plenty of times. So I think he's going to get to that point in his life and he's going to need something to do. And then the Champions Tour is going to be the answer. I mean,
I know what you mean about a tournament. I've got a member guest this weekend and I'm going to go hit balls tomorrow because I'm really, really excited. Asking the right question can greatly impact your future, especially when it comes to your finances. So if you're looking for a financial advisor you can trust, certified financial planner professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's got to be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org. Alan, thank you so much for joining us. That was fantastic. I look forward to seeing you. You'll be at Quail Hollow?
Oh, yeah. I'll see you there.
Okay, good stuff. I'm sure I'll see you before then, but if not, at Quail Hollow.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take a little break in our parting thoughts now. We're only halfway there. It already feels like been meaty conversations. We're halfway there, living on a prayer. To talk with Ben about fashion. Ben, you're going to run me through your top 5 outfits for the Masters from Masters Week. And before we start, this has become like Fashion Week for these golf brands.
Finally.
You've been waiting for this to happen.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, we saw, I think, Malbin last year with the vest and Jason Day, but I mean, we saw Grayson with, what do you think of the Cameron Smith blazer, by the way?
I have mixed feelings. It's not in my top 5. I'll give you that spoiler. It's the only time you'll hear me endorse the material in that suit. Normally, like you want like a wool blend in a suit, and that's like a nice suit. That's like a it's like the polyester golf shirt of suits. So everyone was like, can you even swing in this? Yes, you can. It was a stretchy suit, but that's like not a cool look off the golf course.
Well, I just feel like a blazer over, like it's got to be a button down that it's over. That goes like a blazer over a polo with 3 buttons. Just.
I think that it was all navy. The monochromatic of it like made it look pretty cool in my mind.
So you liked it?
I liked the stunt. Yeah. I don't endorse it other than in that moment.
Well, the fashions become more of a topic during Masters Week for sure. Okay, so walk us through your top 5.
All right, so number 5 coming in, Hideki Matsuyama, former champion. The yellow shirt has become a thing on Sundays.
Raymond loves the way Hideki dresses, by the way. I think he did a thing last year where he went through like the best dressed players on tour, and I think Hideki was number 1. He
might be number 1 or 2, yeah, but it's because of this ASICS partnership he has too. That just like ASICS Golf makes 6 shoes that like fashion sickos also love. The aggressive sunglasses, but it's the yellow shirt that I think like he's establishing as his own. I like the addition of the vest on Sunday. That the layering was like incredible there. It really popped. He kept the shades on the whole time. Like he always just looks so cool. And it worked this time. If not, there were some bigger stars, or he would have been higher on the list.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4 is Ludvig Aberg.
Before you say this, please don't make a comment about his physical appearance.
I will not.
If that's possible. Just please.
Ludi did a little more cosplay than I expected this week. He went all in on Adidas's new Originals campaign that they rolled out for Masters Week.
It was brighter.
It was a lot brighter. He wore that green shirt, but I like this subdued look. This hat was like a little bit of a throwback. White and blue, easy. The shoes are a star here. I have these shoes at home. I haven't played in them yet, but they're awesome looking. Adidas makes great golf shoes. And yeah, he just looked classy and like a little bit of a throwback, but I didn't love how much he leaned into the cosplay of it all. I think he could have styled himself a little bit better, but these pleated pants were also, and the belt, if you can see up in that close-up, are a pretty nice
I'm
look.
a big pleated pants guy. I'm pretty much exclusive pleated pants on the golf course.
Speaking of,
I'm very anti like stretchy, the athletic material.
And that's for everybody at home. Like that's what's happening now. Like you think a big pleated pant is like a grandpa look. That's the cool look right now. The more you move into it. And speaking of the man who does it better than anyone else on tour, Jason Day, has tied himself for 3rd in my ranking with 2 different fits. This one, I believe, was Friday, and he had these off-white pleated pants, just like everything fit him correctly. Obviously, the visor always.
I think the visor's been a big difference this year. So last year he was wearing that big hat with the motive. Yeah, it looked a little goofy. He's gone full visor this year. It's made a big difference. Visor
brought the steez, but also it's the fit of the pants and the fact that like everyone's buzzing about this vest, and like we broke some news there that he had to like tone it down this year. He toned it down correctly. I liked it as a statement, but his other look I also really liked. The mock neck. Yeah. Minwoo Lee was wearing a mock neck the same day. Raymond was talking about how the mock appearances at Augusta. Again, look at the fit of the pants. Look at the sneaker style shoe. Look at how he untucked the mock a little bit and it's hanging out loosely. Like he looks casual. He looks comfortable. He said this over and over again that he styles himself to feel comfortable on the golf course. He just also happens to have great taste. So he ends up high on the list.
All right, Jay Day.
2nd place this year, Bernhard Langer.
The old man swag.
Old man swag.
You like
this? This is how you pay.
We saw a lot of this
homage.
with the collar, with like what do they call that? Where Rory was doing, where there's like the
tipped collar.
Yeah.
Rory, I liked Rory's tipped collar Nike shirts this week too. I mean, he typically, and you and I talked about this. Like he's a typical.
I'm not a fan. He's like golfer stretchy pants.
But he's also a superhero, so he's like allowed to wear like the tight Superman suit.
Okay,
in my mind.
Fair enough.
And Dustin Johnson, I used to say the same thing about him. Like he was so much of a superhero. Like the tight stuff looked good. But Bernhard. Homage to now I'm forgetting the year, 83, 75. When did he? No, not 75. His first Masters, he wore an all-red outfit. Okay. And Bogner, the brand he works with now, has brought it back. I like this one especially because it looked just as good layered as it did when he took the sweater off and revealed the all-red. Just a total flex. Everything we said about Bernhard added to this sartorial moment as well.
Great. And number 1?
Number 1 this week, for good reason, is young Rory McIlroy, wearing a 38 regular green jacket.
It fit nicely.
That fits him. He said before the tournament he's more of a fitted, tailored guy. He's definitely of the generation of like #menswear. We're the same age. Like he has seen Tumblr before. Like he knows how a suit's supposed to fit, and I don't think he was going to let himself. Look at Scotty in comparison.
It actually, that now that you mention it, and also I think the PGA Tour had a video came out where. Like on Sunday morning where he was talking about how he wants his jacket to fit. Yeah. He made a point to be like...
He made a point. He likes it tailored. Yeah. But look at Scotty here. Like that thing's hanging off him. Scotty doesn't give a shit about how his jacket fits him. Rory does, and you can tell the difference here. So kudos to Rory for being like literally the first green jacket wearer in decades that I've seen actually look good in the green jacket.
It does.
Taylor
It's got a totally different fit. I wouldn't have noticed that unless you
That's
told me.
why you have me here.
That's why we're here.
Let's get back to the golf.
All right, we're going to hop back into the back half of our parting thoughts from Augusta National. We're going to start with Augusta's media department. They're undefeated. So much so that it's almost like being there from a coverage perspective is almost like a hindrance. Not having your phone on the golf course, not being inside the ropes. This is the media center where I spend 90% of my time, just because you can watch everything. And when you're out on the golf course, I don't want to say that going to the Masters is not an incredible experience for a fan. It's an incredible experience for a fan. No phones is amazing. You get to be so present. Everything that you hear about the vibe and getting in is super smooth and getting out is super smooth, and the food is it's an amazing experience. From a coverage perspective, it's a very difficult golf tournament because I go out there, I can't, the scoreboards are analog, they're delayed, which leads to incredible moments like we saw that on the broadcast. They did a great job of highlighting when they change the scoreboard and people go crazy. There's a reaction on the reaction sort of thing. But Masters.com is unbelievable, and the app is unbelievable. So we're not far away from just being able to watch every group live on every shot. We're basically already there. I mean, they upload every shot to the app less than 5 minutes after it happens. They have live dedicated shows and dedicated feeds for feature groups, holes 4, 5, and 6, amen corner, so you get 11, 12, 13, and then 15 and 16. They have the broadcast just free on their website. I don't know if I'd ever seen that before. I don't know if this is the first year they're doing it, but
always.
You don't even need like a cable. So you literally, usually you go on a website and you have to log nothing. Anyone can watch. Anyone with an internet connection could watch the Masters broadcast. You don't even need any login. And yet people still complained when they couldn't watch Bryson on Friday. Bryson was not in a feature group. He was playing early. So again, if you did 5 minutes of research to figure out how to watch his round, you could see every single shot. But the Masters listened, and what they do, they posted down a cut down video showing his entire round. It's something else what they do, man. It's crazy, and it's 1 week a year, and they kill it every year.
It's really interesting to me, and my friend wrote a piece about this for Town and Country, or she's working on it right now, but like there's this huge juxtaposition between how old school, traditional Augusta National and the Masters is, but also how innovative from a tech standpoint they are. Like, it's a crazy contrast, and this is an example, like every year they could start adding new cameras, new ways to watch, and they could drip this out for 10 years. And every year it would just keep getting better and better. It's like they're like the Apple of.
They are, and it's the most exclusive golf course in the world, but they're the most. It's the most democratically distributed golf tournament.
Yeah.
Like every highlight is going to make it onto Instagram and TikTok. The final round will be on YouTube. I feel like there's this thing like you want to keep things scarce. You want to keep things. They don't do that. They keep it for obviously playing the golf course is basically impossible, or getting there is really difficult. But as far as just consuming the Masters tournament, they make it way easier than any of the others. And when you walk around and you see who the membership is, you're thinking, how do they know all this stuff? Well, it's because they hire smart young people who work for Augusta National, who understand how media work.
Yeah.
They were all over it this week on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. It's just. Yeah, it's you don't get to be that good like these members. They don't get to be that smart and successful without hiring people who know what they're doing, without delegating to experts.
It also makes the on-course experience even better. Like for someone that gets to finally go after like experiencing that way the whole time, like because you've been there, I know because I've been there. It is a truly unique on-course experience.
Mm-hmm.
And like, watching golf in person is never as good as it is watching on TV, especially for people that try to cover it. There, it's like just a completely separate experience. You don't mind about how much golf you're missing because those roars you hear from afar, like those manual scoreboard moments, are worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, and it's like a photo shoot opportunity for a lot of people.
At least on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday was just basically photo shoots. All right, and that more coverage this year included tracking golf shots on the range.
Yeah.
So that's a new frontier. I would expect the PGA Tour and the other majors to do this because it's another data point. And we saw Bryson, I think this was after Friday or maybe Saturday, he definitely hit well over 1,000 shots on the range. It's another data point for people to analyze, odds makers to make lines. I will say the conventional wisdom of kind of hitting more balls the worse off you are, maybe not so true, at least not this week. The two guys who hit the most, I believe, were DeChambeau and Homa, and they both finished in the top 12. But this is going to spread for sure.
We'll have to talk to Rick about that too, because I wonder if that really like opens up the betting world to to a lot new opportunities.
It's another relevant piece of information for people to, and I'm sure practice rounds will get tracked soon enough. Like, we're just inching closer and closer to anything that happens on site at a golf tournament, anyone around the world can know and see.
And get the data behind it, too.
And get the scientific data behind it.
Shout out to IBM. They had to be behind that.
I'm sure they are. It's a massive undertaking. It went very, very well. Ludvig Aberg came into this week off back-to-back miscuts. He said it was the lowest point of his career, which is, it's nice to be young and not have scar tissue.
Yeah.
He missed 2 cuts, and it's like, oh, I'm really struggling. It's all relative, obviously, these low points. So one thing about Augusta is it seems to zap players out of funk sometimes, and I think it's because the course asks such specific questions as far as, okay, you're never going to get a flat lie, right? You're going to have to hit a cut off a lie where the ball's above your feet. It just kind of takes you out of your head. So I asked Ludvig early in the week how he was approaching his prep. Here's what he said. My practice has been to play a lot of golf and stop swinging golf. I would like to sort of see the ball flights, hit the ball flights, and I've kept... Do we have this video? Is that what I heard in my ear?
It's been to play a lot of golf.
Yeah, here we go.
Stop swinging golf. So I'd like to sort of see the ball flights, hit the ball flights, and I've kept a score over these last couple of days just to sort of get that competitive sort of simulation, I guess. I always like to do it on Wednesdays, but this time I've done it every day, which I've enjoyed doing, and I think it's been good for me.
So Brandel loves this guy, obviously, because Brandel hates driving ranges. And, he said he practices on the golf course keeping score. And it did get me thinking, it's bizarre that, golf is sort of the only sport where you don't practice on the same field of competition that you play on. Right, like with tennis, if you're practicing, you're just playing points on the same tennis court. Basketball, you're shooting baskets. In golf, it's a dead flat lie. It's just like a totally different environment than you are on the golf course. So yeah, it was a good week for Ludvig. I think Brandel said that he's everything Bobby Jones was about. So I think it was Ian Baker Finch on the broadcast said he's a mixture of Adam Scott and Roger Federer. So Ludvig seems to be like the hottest property in golf right now.
Your pick for the week, and just when we thought it was like, okay, nice try, like he got into the mix.
He got into the mix. Yeah, he played his last 2 holes and 4 over. I think he cost himself like 500 G's, but I still think it was a.
That's crazy, 500 G's.
Yeah. Whoa. Well, it's this. They upped their purse this year, so the purse was 21 million. The winner got 4.2 million, which is more. Last year it was 20 million and 3.6, I think.
6, yeah.
So. They continue to evolve on that front as well. Yeah, Rory's already made 12 million already this year on course.
That's why he doesn't care about the Champions Tour.
That's why he doesn't care about the Champions Tour. Yeah, he kind of took that question as like, I don't need money, but I don't think that was the question. Anyways, moving on. Akshay Bhatia, I love watching this guy. So many guys these days are one-dimensional with the way that they play. It makes sense from a strategy and from a statistic standpoint to have one stock shot that you can go to over and over again. Now, Akshay definitely prefers hitting cuts, which for him is right to left, but he moves it all over the place. He hits low ones, he hits high ones. He's a throwback to watch in that sense. He kind of reminds me of like a young Bubba Watson. I asked him about this when we did a 1-hole with a couple weeks ago at Bay Hill.
My kind of DNA is curving it a lot with drivers, especially, and so growing up, I used to mimic everyone's golf swing. So like Bubba, Freddie, Sergio, Phil, like everyone. And so I think that's where the creative side kind of came out for me.
Bubba. So you ever get the like that finish?
Oh yeah, I mean I would just freaking, release it or just hold it. I pretty much did that anytime whoever was leading the golf tournament for the week.
Awesome. He's good to watch.
It would probably benefit him to simplify it, right? But I'm glad that he's not. He's going to keep being an artist.
Yeah, like my job is not to help Akshay Bhatia shoot the lowest scores possible. My job is to, just be a fan and watch him and enjoy him. He's a little bit slow on the golf course. A lot of people were saying that. I don't hold it against the players. I hold it against all the leadership. So Fred Ridley talked about this, the chairman of Augusta National, about pace of play. He went out of his way to address it in his prepared remarks during his pre-tournament presser. Here was Chairman Fred Ridley.
Playing without undue delay, as the rules and the game's traditions dictate, is an essential skill of golf at all levels. Recognizing the challenges professionals face each week, I also believe pace of play is an important element of the examination of the world's best players. Golf's a special game because it requires us to be considerate while also being competitive. Respecting other people's time, including, importantly, the fans who support the game, is a fundamental courtesy. Therefore, I want to encourage continued dialogue on this topic, especially at the professional levels, which serve as the most visible representation of our sport.
You could tell that he also talks about the drive, tip, and putt. Someone asked about the kids were doing aim point, and you could tell he was like, what the hell is this? He was angry. He said there's going to be a time limit on the drive, chip, and putt. He even went as far to say, he was like, I saw some of these kids pacing off the chip. It's 15 yards.
Nah.
It's the same length. The chip is the same length at every competition stage throughout the whole year. He was clearly very irked by this. He said that the club was going to deal with it this week. I thought they were going to hand out a penalty this week. I really did. I thought that they were going to make a statement and say, the PGA Tour, we're going to go out on our own and we're going to actually enforce this. And then it took everyone 5.5 hours to play in threesomes on Thursday.
You said that on Thursday, and I thought it was going to happen on Thursday.
I thought they were going to hand out a penalty.
Yeah.
And we're going to say it till the cows come home. The only thing that's going to make a difference here is adding strokes to someone's score. Notice I didn't say stroking. I went out of my way to not say stroking. And the PGA Tour, I will say, this is fair play. They're testing some stuff this week. Mm-hmm. They've got the Rangefinder. So we've got a signature event this week at the RBC Heritage. Crazy that we have a signature event the week after the Masters, but that's a separate conversation. Guys are going to be allowed to use rangefinders, and they're testing a new policy where they're ostensibly going to be handing out penalties on the Korn Ferry Tour this week. But again, until the best players in the world have a fear of getting a penalty, nothing's going to change. Because Chairman Fred Ridley used his bully pulpit, and he was as strong as you could possibly be, and he said, get on with it, and then play was 5.5 hours on Thursday, and nothing happened.
If they would have done that, like you said, on Thursday right away, like really got somebody for it, like it might have had actual shockwaves. Maybe it dies now. I think the broadcast should put the timer on at RBC. Like if they're really going to start addressing this, let's get the 4-minute clock up on this.
And I liked what he said about, because a lot of the pros, when you say, pace of play is an issue, they go, well, the golf courses are super hard. Okay. Playing a shot within 45 seconds when the course is hard is playing without undue delay. That's a skill.
Yeah.
Everyone would love to wait for the perfect wind, right? To wait until you feel completely confident with the shot. But playing with that uncertainty in your head is part of the challenge of golf. It's supposed to be, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not anymore, but it's supposed to be. And 5.5 hours, I get it, the course is hard, but that's not... I don't find that to be a real excuse.
You know what's funny? In amateur golf, the reason rounds are slow and slow play is bad is because people are terrible.
It's because they suck.
Yeah, and they don't have that issue. They're finding other ways to make it long, which, they're perfectionists. I get that part of it
and I don't blame them for it. That's it. The incentive structure there is if you feel like playing longer or taking your time is going to make you play better golf, and there's no downside because there is no downside.
No spanking.
You're going to do it. I don't hold it against the players. I hold it against the leadership. Hopefully the PGA Tour has moved past the talking phase and we're going to see some real stuff. It'll be very interesting to see this week how the rangefinders work out. Guys are probably still going to just use their yardage books. They'll probably, because they're so used to it, they'll use the rangefinders if they get super offline, so they don't have to do, Pythagorean theorem, like, A squared. But no, people really do that. Like if you're so far offline that there's no, sprinkler heads, that's how you do it. You walk to a sprinkler head. So if it's, sprinkler head.
A squared, B squared, C squared.
A squared plus B squared equals T squared. That's how you get the distance.
Cool. You probably see a lot of those triangles in yardage books.
Totally. But that's gone now. So we'll see if it makes a difference. They've had the rangefinders have been allowed in the PGA Championship for a few years, and I don't think it's made that much of a difference. But let's see. It also makes sense because every golfer uses a rangefinder, basically every golfer. So
they let us use them.
So it makes no sense to not let the pros use them. All right, Collin Morikawa. I'm not going to talk about, actually I am going to talk about the media stuff, but this is more about his edge and his personality. So you knew he was going to be asked about these comments. So, he said, I don't know the media anything. This all stems from him not stopping to talk after he lost to Russell Henley at Bay Hill. It's the biggest stage in golf. It's like the Super Bowl. Any question, guys like me who are there every single week, they know he's been asked this a million times, but there's a lot of people who aren't there every single week, and the Masters is the first tournament they cover, and it's totally a fair thing. And again, it's the biggest stage in golf. So it's fair game to ask any question. He was asked about his reaction to the reaction, whatever it was. Here's what he said.
I think everyone took it in a wrong direction. I said it in my second media thing. I could have said it differently, but I stand by what I said, right? I was in the moment. We talk about giving people space to be who they are. And at that time, it was for me to be who I was, and I didn't want to be around anyone. I didn't even want to be around my wife. Like I said hi to her after, we hugged, and I just went straight to the locker room, right? So in that aspect, I'm not, I think there needs to be a balance and an ebb and flow between everything, right? I do want to be here for you guys, but here's the thing. I've been in the top 5 in the world before, and people don't come up to me and ask me questions. So if you guys, you can't just ask me when I'm playing well. Like, you guys should be asking the top 10 players every single week, every single day, and just document it, Then you get a sense of who we are, and you get a flow of how that comes to be, right? But if you're only asking me, look, I've been in the top 5 for however long, in my career. I mean, there's plenty of times where media doesn't ask me. So there's a balance, right? If you guys don't want to ask me, then it's not my job to go out and tell you my story. Sometimes it is, right? But you do that through social media. You do that through playing well, winning tournaments. But not everyone's like that.
It's a roller coaster answer. I don't really know exactly what he was trying to say, but we talked about this a little bit. I'm going to focus less on the comments and more on his edge. The guy, he won't budge. And that's his attitude. There's a stubbornness there. And I respect it as an athlete. You got to be a little crazy in this game, unless you're Rory McIlroy, who's like the most normal person ever. Everyone always asks me, what's Rory like in real life? And I say, for as famous and as accomplished as he is, he's the most normal person you've ever met. I like that attitude. I'm not saying I would want my partner or friend to have, it'd be frustrating to argue with someone who's just not going to budge, but I respect it as an athlete.
I hope it translates.
What do you mean?
To the golf course. I can see that edge really taking him over the hump into the next level. He might have a little bit of a middle child syndrome going on, where everyone's either talking about Rory or they're asking somebody about, they blew it and they did terrible, and he's I think that's what he's maybe trying to say with you guys don't talk to me enough when I play well. Come on, I'm still kind of him.
Right. Yeah. He did say I've been in the top 5 in the world for this many years. Said it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the conversation with him has been why he hasn't won yet, or since 2023, and he's won 2 majors at such a young age. But I think he's going to win more. I really like that attitude. I don't necessarily like it in the sense of, again, it'd be frustrating to deal with, but I like it for a golfer.
I think Rory also winning this week is a lot more motivating for someone like Collin than a Bryson winning or Rosie winning. Or that's his real contemporary right
Totally.
There.
And with Rory, this just popped into my head, man. It's a victory for, I think I wrote this, for the guy who just wouldn't stop texting the girl who's just a little bit out of his league, or the singer who kept playing the local bar hoping to get their break. Just keep at it. And I think that's what Collin has been saying through this difficult period is I'm just going to keep putting myself in position. And one of the times it's going to go my way. So I thought Shane Lowry, moving on, amidst some pretty high emotions, might have come to the solution to this issue. And we were talking about this, and you were like, I think that's the answer. And I was like, so do I. So after his round on Saturday, he finished really poorly. I think he bogeyed the last 2 to shoot himself out of contention. And he's standing up there, and they immediately ask him about Rory. And that was out of order. It was. It's a fair question on Sunday when it's over and, he can sort of reflect. But in the middle of battle, again, and this goes back to what I was saying about writing articles after Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Could you imagine going up to an athlete after 3 quarters and being like, can you talk about the other guy who's playing much better than you? You'd be like, get the fuck out of my face. So they asked him about Rory. He wasn't happy about it, but I think we found the solution here. Let's roll a clip.
We talked about Collin Morikawa a few weeks ago. I think we need time. I think I need a half an hour now to sit there and gather my thoughts. I can't be coming to talk to you guys straight away. It shouldn't be happening. I don't agree with it. Tennis players have to talk to the media, but they have half an hour or an hour before they have to do it. I feel like we should have the same thing. And that's how I feel. I'm probably going to say something stupid. I probably already have said something stupid because I'm pissed off right now. So I'm just going to leave, okay?
No, thank you. Shane, thank you.
Super reasonable.
Walked right. I love he said, I'm going to leave, and then he did it.
Super reasonable. Awesome. I think as part of this strategic sports group investment into the PGA Tour, there should be a new round of media regulations where players are required to talk to the media just like every other sport is, but give them time. Give them a buffer.
Yeah, you have 2 votes right here. We will give you 30 minutes.
I think if a quarterback throws an interception to lose a Super Bowl, he gets to go to the locker room and talk to his teammates and collect his thoughts a little bit, and then he comes out. If I'm in an argument with somebody or something bad has happened in my life, a lot of times I want to take a couple minutes because you're emotional and you don't want to say something that you regret. And I think they should be afforded that courtesy. I think that's the middle. That's compromise. Compromise is the name of the game in life and in marriage. That is the name of the game. And I think they should talk to the media. It's part of this is it's an entertainment product, and the media is important. And, you know, as Alan says, letting us into how you're feeling is important, but it doesn't need to be right after. I have no problem with giving them a half an hour.
I think if we, as reporters, are going to actually be honest with ourselves, like, we're going to get a better soundbite, maybe not a clickier soundbite, maybe not the one that blows up and is, like, taken out of context, which is what gets the most numbers on the internet because of the electorate.
Yeah.
But you're going to get someone that can think through their emotions and find a way to articulate it and then give it to you. Like, they don't have to edit the quote for clarity. You get a nice, beautiful piece there. So journalists, like, see that glass half full.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer. All right, Jose Ballester. He pissed in Race Creek. He's going to regret this if he doesn't already. I think he might already. He said that he apologized to the club. Look, we've all done shit that we thought was really funny when we were in college. And then you look back on it and it's maybe not that funny. And you're like, man, I wish I hadn't have done that. But after, you know, it was one thing to do it, and then it was another thing to double down. Here he was on Thursday after his round talking about the antics.
Well, I completely forgot that we had those restrooms on the left of the tee box.
Oh, okay. 13th tee.
Yes,
yeah.
Correct. And then I'm like, I really need to pee. Didn't really know where to go, and since JT had an issue around the green, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sneak here in the river. Probably the people would not see me that much, and then they clap for me. Probably one of the clubs that I really got today, like real loud. So that was kind of funny.
Forgive and forget, but you're.
I don't know why. I mean, I'm not like trying to be a Puritan.
Yeah.
But why did they allow him back on Friday? I was shocked.
Really?
That was the kind of thing where I thought they'd be like, sorry, like, that's too far. Like, and I'm talking about the hat, of course.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about obviously what happened. The hat's terrible. Like,
the hat didn't bother me.
Not from a like, again, Puritan standpoint,
Yeah.
just from like an aesthetic standpoint. Like,
Yeah.
get rid of those stupid hats. But yeah, I was surprised they didn't kick him out. And like, yeah, he's gonna look. Alternatively to Rory, he's gonna look back on like his celebration and be like, yes, I got a good one. He's gonna be like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
And from everything I've heard, he's a really great kid. And I don't know, maybe he just made a college mistake. But it was a very college mistake.
I hated the answer more than like the action.
Yeah.
We've all pissed it.
I agree.
in
The
river.
doubling down, and we didn't even show the part of the clip where he said, if I could do it again, I would do it again.
Yeah.
Which is
that's why I thought they weren't gonna let him back.
I'm gonna say something that one of the older journalists said to me. I'm not gonna reveal his name, but he said, what I was thinking the whole time is, I'm 60 years old. I have a problem holding my piss for 3 minutes. You, at 21 years old,
That's right.
need to be able to hold your piss for 3 minutes. How bad did you really have to go? You know what I'm saying? You've got control over your prostate at that age. At least I would think.
That's fine.
All right. Our last of our 18 parting thoughts. This is a personal anecdote. So Fred Couples shot 1 under 71 on Thursday. He beat Rory. He beat Rahm. He beat Xander Schauffele. He beat Justin Thomas. And that is the magic of Augusta. He's not beating them at TPC Sawgrass or at Oakmont, but there's something about this course, and we see it every year, and it reminded me of my own story. So the Masters is its own thing. It's its own event once per year. It's separate from the tours, and guys play in this event who don't play in other major championships, all the past champions, specifically the older guys, and they work on what they need to work on for this week. So Fred said that he's been trying to get faster for this week, and it reminded me, and this is again talking about how Augusta is sort of like the Tour Players Country Club of a club championship. Like an older guy, he's going to ramp up. He's going to do everything he can to get ready for that one tournament. So when I was 16 years old, I lost in the semifinals of the club championship to a guy who was 72 years old. And I was a better golfer than him. And I knew I was a better golfer than him. And he knew that I was a better golfer than him. Just like Rory McIlroy is a far better golfer than Fred Couples. But one round on the right course where they have experience, they can turn back the clock, they know where to miss. 18 holes is a sprint and not a marathon. They can get a hot putter. They could hole out a hybrid for eagle like Fred did on Saturday. Anything can happen when the sample size is 1. And I loved that from Freddie. Beating all those guys. He missed a cut. Rory won the tournament. But one round, anything can happen on the right golf course in the right set of circumstances. The old guys can have their day. I just thought it was great.
I think that feeling that you're having, plus what Tiger Woods did in 2019, is why we continue to think like, okay, if he goes full bionic leg into back and all those problems are gone, like that is the place where he could do it for a 6th time. Like he could do it again.
I just don't think he can walk.
That's what I'm saying. He just go full bionic.
And just get like a prosthetic or something.
But like this course is the one that like familiarity means more than any other tournament. Right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that like you're always going to get an opportunity to see Freddie or
Bernhard Langer shot a lower score for 36 holes than Brooks Koepka did. You know, it's again, if they played 10 times, Brooks is going to win. If they played 2 more rounds, I'm sure Brooks would have gotten him. But there's just something about the Masters being its own thing that makes it so relatable as far as it's like a club championship. It's like anything can happen. It's the Masters. It's not a full PGA Tour season. It's not even the major championship season. It's the Masters.
What other tournament are guys like Rory-McIlroy seeking out, I don't know if this actually happened, but like guys like Rory-McIlroy seeking out a Fred Couples to play a practice round with just to get that like inside baseball stuff. That doesn't happen anywhere else.
No, it doesn't happen. It's a one of one.
Sick.
That was our Masters wrap up. All right, we're going to bring on Rick Gaiman now because golf never sleeps. Our segment, Give Me a Winner. Rick, how we doing? How was your Masters week?
Awesome. I'm still in Augusta, so it is post-apocalyptic here. I'm like the only person in the entire city, but it was awesome, Dan. I mean, people throw around instant classic like way too frequently, but that was obviously it right there.
That was an instant classic. All right, let's review our picks from last week. You gave us 10. Yeah. I think we have a graphic here. Let's pull it up. Okay, we won. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 out of 10. Is that right?
So we've got, so the big ones here that buoyed us were the Corey Connors top 10. That was 4.5 to 1. The cut score was actually quite a zero sweat one. Yeah, very comfortable. And then Spieth beat Koepka. Spieth made the cut. So like the non outright bets, we were up about 2.3 bets on those, which is kind of the way that we want this to happen, Dan, is, you kind of stay close to even. You win a little, you lose a little, you hit something at 18 to 1. You win a little, you lose a little, you hit something at 15 to 1, something like that. So the one that was a little disappointing was the Aaron Rai top rookie. He got off to a very strong start, ended up finishing 2 shots behind Matt McCarty, and then we had Xander and Scotty both finished inside the top 10, but they weren't Rory.
No, the one that screwed us was the pin on 16 on Sunday. I thought we were going to get it there on Sunday, and they moved it back right. And I texted you and I said, "This is a problem for us. Are we done with Patrick Cantlay? Can we retire Patrick Cantlay?"
No, but we will. This is like the best spot on tour, but we're going to retire him from these 3 that we have done, but if he does not play well this week, which is the best spot outside of TPC Summerlin for him, he can be retired for the foreseeable future.
Okay. So again, we have a signature event, which is crazy. Rory's not playing, I would presume. Is anybody else skipping it?
Yeah, there was one other guy in the top 10. I can't remember who it was, but it is a pretty stacked field. It's like Scheffler's there, Xander is there, JT is there, Morikawa is there, Victor's there. Like it's stout. So
you kind of alluded to what the golf course is like vis-a-vis Patrick Cantlay. Talk to us about Harbour Town.
Yeah, I mean, huge contrast to what we got last week. This is a positional golf course. If you go back and look at like the shot plots, basically all the second shots come from the same position, right? It's very positional. So guys hit it off the tee. You've got to have, you want to be in the fairway. Sometimes you want to be on the correct side of the fairway because you have these overhanging trees. And then, of course, these tiny little putting surfaces, Dan, like 3,700 square feet on average is I think only Pebble Beach is smaller. And similar to Augusta National, guys that play well here tend to always play well here. And guys that struggle here tend to always struggle here. It's also a thinking man's golf course, but in a completely different way.
All right. With that in mind, who is your pick to win the tournament this week?
Yeah. So I'm a sucker for punishment, if you haven't noticed by this point. So we're going back to Justin Thomas here. And if I were Justin Thomas's caddy, I would snap his driver over my knee.
If the question is, who is the caddy? Are we going to have Joe Greiner back on the bag? Are we going to is Minister going to be back on the bag? We don't know. But anyways, why? He's hitting his driver bad?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, he just sprays it all over the place. Now, the good news is you don't need driver here, right? Everybody's going to play to the same position. When everybody plays from the same position, Dan, like if I just throw everybody 150 yards away from the middle of the fairway and start there, like the best approach players win. And that's what the stats say as well. There's a model that we run every single week, and there's only like 5 other courses on the PGA Tour schedule where strokes gained approach is more important than here because everybody is always playing from the same spot. So snap the driver over your knee. Don't use it around here, JT. It's the only problem with his game. He's putted really well around Harbour Town. His metrics at Harbour Town are great, but he's just got to be leaning into that precision, not the power game.
All right, a top 20 bet?
Yeah, okay, Lucas Glover. I've had a very good feel for Lucas Glover. We knew last week was not going to be good for him. Augusta National is a horrible spot for him. I think we talked about this during the live show. He was one of the random number guys that popped up on us. This is much better, okay?
You said he likes tree-lined.
Tree-lined golf courses, accuracy, precision. He's putted much better this year than we've ever seen, and he's still been able to put together some decent results around Harbour Town in years where he was completely lost with the putter. It is like him not having to play the weekend at Augusta National and getting the hell out of town and getting to a course that is much better for him is like the best case scenario for him. So yeah, we're going to get a little bit of plus money here at plus 175 to finish on the first 2 pages.
All right, and then we're going a little deeper with our third pick. This guy got in through Aon, or how did he get in?
Yeah, he's been playing great golf, right? So finishes 9th at the Houston Open, finishes runner-up at the Texas Open. This is Ryan Gerard I'm speaking about, and the wager is a top 30. So this is that smaller, more condensed field, obviously much better than he has seen, but we're not asking him to play as well. His tee to green numbers are great. Now, he went out and picked up 7 strokes putting at Valero. That is an outlier for him. He doesn't need to do anything remotely close to that, and he hasn't been. A very good tee to green player with high upside. He's playing some of the better golf that we've seen. This is going to be a true test for him, Dan. Let's be real. You know, this is going to be the most difficult field he's played in, but it's a top 30. It's not a top 3.
And he'll be up for it, right? I mean, this is a big week for him. This is, I'm not going to say it's his Masters, but this is a big week for him.
Yeah, he sits out watching these guys play the Masters. He gets himself into a signature event where the money, the points, earning himself into more of these. Like, yeah, this might be, depending on if he gets into any majors this year, this might be the biggest event he plays all year long.
He'll be ready to go. You're always ready to go, Rick. We got to sign this guy up. I say it every week. Good stuff,
Appreciate you, boys.
Talk to you soon.
All right, later, guys. Later, Rick.
All right, our dog of the week. If you watch the show, you know what we're referencing here. DOG, Dan on Golf. Welcome to the show. You knew it was going to be Nick Dunlap. It was always going to be Nick Dunlap. Let's roll the clip of Nick Dunlap.
Never going to quit. I've never withdrawn from anything. I've never teed it up and not finished. So I take pride in that, and that's always how I'm going to be.
He was so close to, our first dog of the week was Mr. Sebastian Gross, who over on the Challenge Tour, I think it was in South Africa, shot 80-60. We said on our round 1 recap that we were hoping for a 90-70 out of Nick Dunlap, and we almost got it. Yeah. He was 4 under for his round through 15 holes, and we just needed him to play the last 3 and 2 over for the nice round numbers. He shot 90-71 instead.
Came down to 18 too, right?
Came down to 18. Yeah, he hit it in the bunker, kind of left his bunker shot like 30 feet short, but it was just awesome. It was great. We talked about this, just that grit to go out there again. He said he had his trainer go get balls from target, and he hit balls into the woods sort of indiscriminately after his round.
That's a dog move. That's a sicko move. That's why he gets it.
That's a sicko move. That's a professional golfer who's like, it's not there right now, and I've got to find it because I'm going to play on the biggest stage in the sport tomorrow. He also said, did I want to be out here? There's a lot of things that would have been more fun than going out on the biggest stage in the sport when you're playing like ass.
Yeah.
But he did it, and he shot under par.
I don't know what kind of golf balls he bought at Target. Were they? Because he buy TaylorMade balls to stay on brand, but they're like the Target generic version.
Balls,
it's hard as a rock.
I don't know. Those guys, they're usually so. Yeah, I wonder if he had the TrackMan out in the backyard as he's just bashing balls into the woods. Yeah, really good stuff from Nick Dunlap. Easy pick for dog of the week. We're going to move into chirps from the gallery. You guys crack me up. Our first one, Zach Johnson's hair. Zach Johnson, what a week for Zach Johnson. Played himself into, I want to say, like the third last group. Zach Johnson's hair. We're going to start a dialogue. These guys just got to go home. Just do all the way with it.
Oh, I didn't see the hair. I just saw the tweet.
Yeah, no, the hair. He took off his hat, and it's struggling a little bit.
I empathize.
Yeah, you do empathize. I feel bad. Maybe I should leave the hair stuff out of here.
No, I'm self-aware.
You're okay?
About it. It's fine.
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll get you over to Turkey at some point.
soon enough.
Okay. Chris Patton. This was from Chris. I think this was CP. Our boy Chris Powers made a comeback after. He said, haven't drank in 40 days. Chris is doing. I think it's Lent. He's doing it for Lent. This pic is testing me. You look at this guy and you get the sudden urge to delete 12 crispy Bud Lights. What a face, man.
Perfectly said.
Just a perfectly said, low amateur. Chris Patton's out there, probably just crushing it in his club championship.
Talk about someone who probably pissed in Race Creek, but didn't boast about it.
There weren't the cameras back then?
Yeah.
You're throwing accusations out there at Chris Patton.
I said probably.
Everyone's obsessed with everything at Augusta National. There was a guy wearing, a bunch of people wearing egg salad hats. You see that hat where it just said egg salad on it? Everything at this place is iconic. We love a little bit of self-awareness on this show. I think this was a tongue-in-cheek about the sub-air. Look, it said, brother insisted I take a photo of the sub-air, and that's a drain. The sub-air is the system that sucks the water out from under the greens, which is how they're able to get the greens so firm even if there's a little bit of rain, and that's a picture of the sub-air. If you're ever wondering what the sub-air looks like, it's funny, when you're walking around, you can hear it. It's got like a dull humming sound, and that's what it looks like. Okay, Rory started with 6 threes on Saturday, an electric start to his round, and this is where AI can really help us. There's Rory as Steph Curry making 6 threes in a row to start the round. I thought the wedding ring was a nice touch there.
Yeah, I wonder who's back. Who's he playing with?
AI knows that Rory is married, and they want.
It looks like a 2-on-2 match in like the desert or something. There's a basketball court.
Yeah, definitely the backgrounds makes you kind of scratch your head a little bit. Not really sure what's going on there, but they made him look pretty good in the Warriors uniform.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Powers was giving Bryson a pep talk. Chris had a big wager on Bryson this week, and he posted the Michael Irvin meme. And you see, this one's like, nobody believes in you. Yeah, I don't think we have the sound here. Oh, here it is.
Nobody believes in you. What are you prepared to do about it? Don't let no one come into your house, take your meal, do what you need to do today. I'm not nervous. I'm just telling you.
I'm not nervous. I'm just telling you. I love that. That's so not how golf fans act. I wish we could use a little bit more of that.
Maybe next time one of your boys is in contention at a major, like Nico or Fitz or something, I want you to deliver.
Nico was in the mix. He shot 84 on Sunday. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And we talked about the Sunday struggles.
He looked good though.
He won the par 3 contest. Crystal. Got a crystal. One more crystal than I have from Augusta National. Nico will be back. Skip Bayless was locked into the Masters on Sunday. He had a hell of a comparison. He said, Rory McIlroy is the LeBron James of golf. I think he meant that as a criticism, but that's pretty high praise. Supremely gifted, nice guy without killer instinct. Bryson DeChambeau is the Jake Paul of golf, who isn't afraid to do it his way and who beat Rory with an amazingly clutch long bunker shot at Pinehurst. He then, when Bryson didn't have it on Sunday, he called him Bryson DeChambeau. So I love Masters Week for so many reasons. One of them is because you get these people who helicopter in, and like we were talking about this when we were watching earlier in the week, like ESPN coverage where they're around the horn, and you could tell these people are trying to talk about golf, and golf is a very specific language to speak, and it's always funny hearing people try to talk about it. But yeah, I always enjoy it. Anytime Skip or Stephen A is paying attention to golf, I think it's good stuff.
It's also like I think this Masters too, because of the drama and how good TV it was, it kind of went overflow with like the amount of text messages I was getting from like
it was
civilians.
Yeah, I saw like political reporters were talking about, like everyone was talking about the Masters. It broke through. Our last one, Stuart Cink, he knows what it feels like to be in the Justin Rose role. My goodness, Justin Rose has showed some serious guts, but still must feel like the whole world is rooting for his opponent. I wonder what that might feel like. He's referencing, of course, the 2009 Open Championship where he broke Tom Watson's heart. But I think just like with Stuart Cink, it wasn't that they were rooting against Stuart Cink, they were just rooting for Rory McIlroy.
For history, yeah.
You're rooting for history. It was a momentous day, and that's what Justin Rose actually said. He was like, this was an amazing day for golf. And so I feel privileged that I was able to share the green with Rory on this stage. All right, we're going to finish with our clip of the week. Rory at his Hollywood Golf Club where he grew up, there was a group of members who were watching. They were obviously super emotional. We're going to leave you with this. What a week. Thank you all for following. Like and subscribe. I think I'm supposed to say that. We'll see you next week, Golf Sickos. Enjoy our clip of the week.